What's good, everybody? What's good, everybody? Make sure you hit the like button, all that kind of stuff, subscribe, share, and all that kind of stuff. I probably should have changed my shirt, but I'm gonna make these two videos back to back. So again, if you hear stuff going on in the background here, I am on vacation. I'm on the street side of this particular place that I'm at. On the other side is the beach. So I'm sure that the other side is much quieter. I do apologize about this. I made this early. I'm making this early in the morning. It's probably people are probably getting up now, so let me hurry up and get through this before the traffic really starts. All right, so I'm going to say this to be exceptional. Be exceptional. Let me play a video by Auntie Anita that kind of sparked me to do this.
That's why they're saying that. But what I'm teaching women is be the exception to the rule, just like I teach men. The young men that I coach, and I have a lot of new young male coaching clients. I'm like, wow, I feel special. I feel special out here in these streets. I got a lot of young men now coming to me for coaching, and I'm like, look, be the 10%. That is the message. That will always be the message. Stop worrying about, the 10%. Become the 10%. See, that's what I do. I don't hate on other women that kept their figure, that kept their youth and their beautiful glow, that got their hair done up, they got their makeup done up. I don't hate on those women. I am one. What I look like, look, I got some friends right now that when an older woman, a 40-plus-year-old woman show up to the meetup, show up to the group, and she fly. She fly, baby. They over in the corner hating on her. Oh, no. Not Anita. Anita is going to become her. See, that's the difference between me and them. Okay, I am the woman that they're hating on. Oh, well, Anita thinks she all that because, she work out and she do this and that and she look like this and that. Okay. Again, I can handle the heat. I am the exception. And that's what I encourage everybody to do. Just be the exception. Stop worrying about, the younger people. I ain't worried about these young girls.
Okay, so we're back from the video with Auntie Anita. I listened to a rant the other day by another brother who I enjoy. I think he's probably, to me, one of the best. I enjoy his rants. They're always usually very, very, very epic. And his name is Sergeant Willie P. So I enjoy his rants. And he did a rant the other day. I don't remember the name of it. It was quite maybe a month ago or so. He did it, and he talked about being your own final boss. You ever played a video game, and you know that the final boss is supposed to be the hardest boss that you have to beat in the game. He said you have to be the final boss. You send other people. You have to work your way up to where you have to work your way up to where you are the kingpin in your own life. You send out your kids and you send out somebody else, the woman, right? Okay, handle this type of thing, and nobody else can get the job done. Okay, now you got to call you, and you are the hardest person to deal with, right? You are the gatekeeper of your flock, the gatekeeper of your residence. You are it, right? There's nobody, there's no higher authority. Being in the police department, always like. I remember one time I was a captain in the police department, right? And at different stages, right? It's always somebody higher. When I was a supervisor, first line, front line officers are like, let me talk to your supervisor. I'd show up. All right, I want to talk to somebody above you. There is nobody above me. There obviously is, but working the midnights for a long time, it's like, listen, I'm the highest ranking officer on the shift right now. What do you want? Right? We're going to deal with this. So you have to become that final. You have to become that final boss. That's what I'm saying. And your competence, your confidence, your level of thinking, your abilities, your fighting abilities, your ability. All these different types of things have to come to a certain place, and you have to become exceptional. Stop looking at other people. Stop looking at other people and saying, "Man, they're better than me," or whatever. And this is definitely a sign of maturity. There's a saying that I said often that smart men, smart people learn from their mistakes. Wise people learn from the mistakes of others. If you are a 20-year-old guy, 25-year-old guy, 30-year-old guy, and you can watch this video and really try to change the way that you think, then I really suggest and highly hope that you do so, because when you change the way that you think, you can change your life. And if you can adopt some of these philosophies and principles that you hear more senior people, seasoned people making, the ones I'm making, the premise that I'm trying to put to you right now, you can really make some great strides and leaps in life. And you have to become exceptional. The problem with a lot of the young men today is this being documented in numerous places, is that they're not trying anymore. They're not going to college, and certainly not at the same rate that the women are, particularly for master's degrees and up. And they're sitting around playing video games. Not all men, and the numbers are still kind of funky about this, but we do know that a lot of men are above the or around 30 or so are still virgins and not seeking, never had a relationship and all that kind of stuff. Now I'm not totally convinced that those numbers are because they can't do it. It's because they look at the world and look at the reward system, the prospects, the jobs, what it took for their grandfather to have a wife, the prospects, and what it took for their fathers. What it took for their father. I gotta hurry this up because people starting to wake up and trying to drive and stuff to get a wife. And they're saying the juice is worth the squeeze. I'm not going to go out there bust my butt for some middle wage job to make $40,000-$50,000 a year, where I can just, and that's with overtime. Why should I do all that and then get a woman who's possibly going to divorce me and take my kids and all this other stuff that they're seeing and that they're dealing with, right? So this is part of the calculus that's going on in their decisions. So I'm trying to get you as a man, in particular. But anybody can watch this, or take this. I want you to become exceptional. I want you to become the final boss. I want you to do it Auntie Anita saying, and look around the room and saying, and not judge yourself against those type of people in a negative way, but push yourself to be better. I told the story before. I'll tell it again. I was an acting lieutenant. A bunch of retirements had gone on. So if you don't know about the police or military ranking system, become a frontline officer, next level of supervisory rank. Depending on the police department, you might have corporals, but generally it's a sergeant, and you would have, after that would be a lieutenant, mid-manager, lieutenant. So we were having a staff meeting, so the big wigs sit at the table. I wasn't a big wig yet. And so everybody else sat around the table, all the lieutenants and all the people. Sometimes there was a couple of secretaries and stuff who were in these meetings, whatever, civilian employees. And they would sit around the table, right? There's chairs in the office there or in the conference room. And we would sit around or, away from the table, right? Think about Thanksgiving, right? All the big kids, all the adults are at the big table. The kids are at the little table, right? So I'm at the little table, right? And one day, I am sitting there at this meeting as an acting lieutenant, going around the room in my mind, saying this person went to private school, this person went to this college, this person did this person did that. I had gone to a public school and had not yet completed any level of education besides a high school diploma. And going around the room, seeing, I was in a room with these people. Now I'm in the room. I am in the room with these people. But yet I had this complex about myself to say, man, I'm not good enough, right? I talked about this. So I suffer from imposter syndrome and all these other, phenomena. Not all of them, but imposter syndrome was one of them. But I'm in the room. I don't tell you, you've got the prowess to be there. You're in the room already. So I'm in the room and I'm doing this thought exercise in my mind. So I said, you know what? Let me go back to school. Let me go back to school. I enrolled to school, completed my associates. I had so many credits from I was in my 30s at the time at this incident. But I had gone to college. I had gone to school, jumped around. I took accounting courses. I took first I was in electrical engineering technology. I hated it. It was so boring. Then I went to accounting. That was even more boring, right? So as being a police officer, I definitely ended up in the right job because I needed to be outside. I needed to be my own boss, not somebody breathing down my neck. It was the greatest job I ever had. I personally think for my personality was the best job in the world, besides being maybe in the NFL or something like that, It was just the freedom, I saw my boss rarely and I was able to move up the chain, make decisions, be a man, a lot of maturity that went on with that. So I definitely recommend people. I think all men should do some type of military service I just think it would make you a better man. Responsibility, the maturity, being around other men. I just think that military service is, and I'm not saying I agree with U.S. foreign policy about everything, but certainly military service, I think it can give you. And I never did any time in the military, but I'm just saying that the regimen and the responsibility of being a police officer were more than likely very, very similar. So I completed my associate's degree, then I'm going back to get my bachelor's, and I'm still doing this thought exercise, Ah man, I got my bachelor's now, still not at the big table yet. Then I became an acting captain, now I'm at the big table. And that when I was the acting captain, I can't remember now. I can't remember if I was working on my master's or not, but now I'm getting more confidence. I'm getting to that place where I'm getting more confidence to feel good about myself and say, I deserve to be here. And so when Auntie Anita was talking about, you going around the room and hating on people, there's a lot of people going around the room hating on people. No, you don't hate on these other individuals. You look at their life, you can do a comparative analysis and just ask yourself, where am I at? Am I where I want to be? I'm not saying become jealous, do what they're doing. You got to be the best version of you. Everybody's not set up physically or meant for college, but you are meant to do something. Open up a barbershop, become the best forklift operator, best truck driver, best oil rig worker, best data analyst, best IT person, right? I wish that I was more competent with building websites and all that kind of stuff, because I've not been happy with anyone who's built my website yet. But I just don't have that skill set. And every time I look at it, and you would go all this back channel programming, this, that, and the other, and I've sat in stuff where people try to show me how to do my own stuff for when I had a WordPress for my website. I'm like, listen, it's a whole nother learning curve that I just don't have time for, right? Right? I don't have time to do this learning curve. But anyway, so you have to look at your life and just make sure that your life is on the trajectory that you want it to be. You are in the target area. This is where I want to be. It's not a comparative analysis saying that I got to make as much money as them or I got to do what they're doing. I'm not saying any of that. I'm saying be the best version of you and be exceptional for what exception is for you. And so that's what I'm saying. You have to work on that. So when I went around the room mentally doing these thought experiments, I wasn't, the drive and motivation wasn't to hate on them or to sabotage them. Man, it's loud out here. Man, it's loud out here. I had to pause that for a second here. I went around the room not because I was trying to hurt other people or going to sabotage them or hurt them or downgrade them or hate on them or any type of way. But I went around the room to say, I need to push myself to become better. So I wanted to make this video to encourage you to become exceptional, to do what you have to do in order to look at other people and say, I can do it. If they can do that, I can fulfill my goals, my dreams, and my desires. So that's why I wanted to make this video. I hope that this was encouraging to you. Be exceptional. Don't look at other people and down yourself. Look at other people and say, what do I need to do to improve? All right? Hit me in the comment section. Much love and peace. Take care of yourselves. Hit the like button, subscribe, and share.